Tyson Fury, the Gypsy King, El Rey de los Gitanos, as we call him out here in Las Vegas in the Mexican community. He is returning against Arslanbek Makhmudov. Arslanbek, who Tyson once pissed off years ago by calling him Arsehole. And now he'll have to get his name right. And if he gets beat by Arslanbek Makhmudov, have to put some respect on his name. But yeah, Netflix is setting this up. Looks like it's setting up to as an appetizer to an inevitable Fury Joshua fight, which they pumped in the aftermath of Joshua's knockout of Jake Paul in December last year. Opening thoughts for me are I think Fury's best days were definitely behind him. I think evidence of the Ngannou knockdown and really close call. Alexander Usyk is an all-time great, but I suspect Fury at his peak, which wasn't long. I mean, really, for me, Fury's true peak was one night, February 2020, part 2 of 3 against Deontay Wilder. I think that version of Fury would have been a little bit too much for even the great Alexander Usyk, but that was a long time ago. Those 3 Wilder fights, 4 knockdowns combined, then another knockdown against Ngannou, then another knockdown against Usyk, who sustained his offense against him through 24 rounds to the body and to the head. I don't think I definitely think Fury's best days are behind him. But at the same time, my first impression is he'll have enough to beat Makhmudov, who is a come forward fighter, stands straight up, is very strong, and has strong will. So he is a live body in there. Not saying it's, he could win. He could win. But my first thought is Fury is still going to have enough in the tank with his boxing ability. And then he knows how to handle himself and maul on the inside when Makhmudov gets where he wants to go, gets to the right real estate in this fight. But he could be pretty much close to done. That candle could be burnt pretty low. What were your first thoughts on this fight coming together?
The return of Tyson Fury was imminent. I don't think anybody was shocked by that. The opponent, we debated probably from the day he retired. We debated what opponent he would return on. Makhmudov is a good call. Valuable opponent in the sense that it's the kind of fight that requires you to train. You can't take it lightly. You can't look past him. He definitely is a threat, while one that you can handle and neutralize if you're on your game. Tyson's going to return on his game. I've been impressed by what I've seen of him in this year off. He, as he said at the press conference, never stopped training. We see evidence of that. He's in better fit shape, I think, than we've seen him in years and years, even for either of the Usyk fights. And he's a very, very smart operator, man. Let me tell you something. He might be the biggest star in boxing, like bar none. Like, I don't know about this face of boxing competition or narrative, but who else can do, as an active fighter right now, what he's able to do in that he's returning on Netflix with an opponent that has no real fan base to speak of, without a title on the line, no real direct line to a world title, and at Tottenham Stadium, which is 70,000, they're expecting him to pack, in a trajectory to a super fight, which also is not likely to have a world title on the line, with another fighter, being Anthony Joshua, if that fight materializes, which I believe it will, who a lot of people have also considered to be well past his prime. Also, if you don't count the Jake Paul fight coming off a loss, like, Tyson Fury has built himself in a way that he has a reality show, he's got a documentary happening, he's on the biggest platform viewership-wise to put on a fight that really has nothing else in it but him as far as sellability. And I don't know that there's another fighter in the sport that can do that. He's so smart in addition to that his road to the next super mega huge fight, again, doesn't have to be wrought with resistance. He can either not fight another fight between this and Joshua, if Joshua's prepared to come back and ready to do something late this year, which is what I'm anticipating. And if he doesn't do that and takes yet another fight in between, he still doesn't really have to be of great resistance. I don't think we ever see the Usyk third fight. However, if we did, I'm not ready to write Tyson Fury out of that fight either. And yes, he definitely lost the first two fights, but and just, hear me out on this one. In that regard, I look at it almost like you would look at an NBA final series. You may know that the other team is superior, but if you play enough games, even the team who is definitely not going to win the series is going to win a game. Even when you have like the prime Chicago Bulls, by the time you get to the third game, you expect probably the underdog team to win one game on the way to a 5-1 or 6-2. I should say
Four one, 4-2.
a 4-1 or a 4-2 series that the favorite team is definitely going to win. But Tyson Fury is good enough to figure out a way in the third offing to come up with a victory one way or the other, even if it's a bit of a pencil whipping from the judges. He'll find a way, or he could find a way. I don't know that there's a bigger star in boxing or somebody who has handled the game more shrewdly.
I don't think so. I think it's tough because he's just not he's past his prime, and Usyk is still fighting as good as ever as a heavyweight. I mean, rewatching, because eventually we're going to talk Dubois and Wardley. I was watching Dubois Usyk part two to tape study Dubois, and I was just so impressed with Usyk. Like he's fighting as good as he's ever fought as a heavyweight right now. So I respectfully disagree. That's what the show's for. And yeah, definitely he's Lennox Lewis, who's gotten a lot better, by the way, as an on-camera personality. Lennox was stiff back in the day with HBO. Never thought it was his strong point, but he was loosened up and doing a good job. Shout out to Lennox, the great Lennox Lewis, on how he was doing. He was being chummy with Tyson. Tyson says, "I want you to walk me to the ring." And then afterwards, when they asked Lennox about the Usyk fights, he says he's delusional. Like he definitely lost both fights. He continues to tell himself he got robbed. He's not. A lot of great fighters do that. Muhammad Ali was deluded after he lost to Joe Frazier and said, "I thought I won the fight," when he could barely talk right with his jaw swollen like this. So, Fury is not. That's nothing new from great fighters making excuses, but he does got one act left. I mean, the Brits, they love boxing. You know this better than me. You move there because that has a better marketplace in many ways than it does here in the United States. So him and Joshua, past their prime or not, and they are still. It's on Fury to show he's got enough in the tank to still make people want to see that fight. I think he can, and that should be their final act, is who can walk away the King of Britain. Will it be Anthony Joshua or Tyson Fury? They still got to finish that act. I mean, it's not happening at the perfect competitive time where it could have meant who's the best heavyweight in the world, but who's the King of Britain of this era still means an awful lot, I think, to both fighters. And it's on Fury in this assignment to show he's still got something in the tank. So that's what this is about.
I know you disagree with Tyson Fury beating Usyk. You don't disagree with me because that's not what I'm saying.
The series stuff was good. I like that. I like the NBA series analogy.
But I don't think, and I'm not, maybe I'm wrong about this. I don't think you would disagree that Fury has a shot. Are you saying what I said is I'm not writing him off, right? And I like my NBA analogy because let's even talk about Fury Wilder, who some people might say Wilder lost both two fights, even though he got a draw in the first one.
I think a draw
Certainly
was fair
after the second
time.
one, you wouldn't given Wilder a shot in the third fight, and of course he didn't win the third fight either. But the fight that he put on could have gone his way with any one of those knockdowns, and no one saw that performance coming from Wilder in that third fight. That was, I believe, the best heavyweight fight I've been ringside for. It's not the greatest in history, but the greatest I've ever seen with my naked eye.
Thing.
If going into that fight, you couldn't have put a gun to my head to say that publicly. That was going to be one of the greatest the greatest heavyweight fight I've seen. Pacquiao Marquez. Now I know, but
We were at both. Yeah.
Exactly. Like
Yeah.
you give a fighter of this caliber, of this talent, of that focus, who's deluded themselves to believing, or and Marquez's point may have a point. Like I haven't lost these fights. I've been robbed. I've been cheated. I've been poisoned. I've been pencil whipped by the judges. I've been disadvantaged by the referees. I gotta prove that this is nonsense. I really am the one who should deserves these victories. They find a way to at least win one.
Hmm.
Keep giving them a roll of the dice, and it's gonna come up. You know what I mean? Their number is gonna come up. And so I just say that while there's no way in the world I would have Tyson as the favorite if all things are equal as they are today, but by the time an Usyk fight could materialize, maybe Usyk's in a war against whomever, Wardley, or has a knockdown slug, and
Caveat.
if Fury comes in with a head of steam and finds a way. Fury's a smart enough fighter, seasoned enough fighter, delusional, crazy enough guy to believe that in his mind he won both fights, and this third fight he's gonna find a way to prove that. Could happen. Could happen. I, so that's all I'm saying in regards to Fury's prospects and that Joshua fight. I mean, yeah, it's all British. It's all for bragging rights in the UK. But is there a bigger heavyweight fight that could be made than that? And I mean globally, because when it happens, it will happen on Netflix. They will have a series backing up Fury. Joshua's terrible tragedy, as terrible as it was, also was on the heels of him becoming a matinee idol because of his fight with Joshua. I mean, because of his fight with Jake Paul. And all of those narratives, if anything, Netflix knows how to tell a story, knows how to build a series. This, for them, I believe, has become really a boxing reality show, if you will. That is going to be a season finale. Joshua, Fury, both Netflix superstars that are going to clash on that platform, and the entire world is going to tune in by the time that thing happens.
Yeah,
Likely for no titles, what Zuffa or otherwise.
because ladies love Cool James, and then after they got exposed to him knocking out Jake Paul, ladies love AJ. So not the same, not as many. I wish his last name was James, so that could have worked better. Ladies love Anthony James, but it's Anthony Joshua. Close enough. Point being, to your point, yeah, it's a huge fight, title or not. Not it's got the British thing where it's a British Super Bowl of boxing. Nobody sells a fight quite like Tyson Fury. And now Joshua has that American exposure that he never quite had. He brings a mainstream audience after knocking out Jake Paul. He brings the ladies. So yeah, you're right. It's the biggest heavy. It's bigger than commercially than what Fury versus Usyk 3 would be. But first things first, in Tottenham, he's gotta show he's the better man. He's got to show his quality. He's got to show he's still got it, Raheem. And I think if he doesn't, then all of this talk is for naught. So that's what he is. He's got to show his quality in Tottenham.
Nah, he's got to
Got to do the
get a
job.
knockout, put the big man down. Makhmudov is going to look impressive falling. It would be a highlight that he needs, and I think he's likely to get it. I would not be surprised if we see a Fury that looks more impressive than what we saw against Usyk. Of course, he's not fighting Usyk, so it's going to be a lot easier to look impressive. But I just mean he's going to be in shape. He's going to be light on his feet. He's going to have a punch. He's going to be his wits about him. And if those fights haven't taken it out of him, now the one thing that you cannot train is punch resistance.
Yep.
That is where my hesitation comes. What the Wilder fights took out of him, what subsequently the Usyk fights have taken out of him, those were tough, tough fights. He took, at one point in the first fight, he was almost gone, if not for the bell. So it is also possible that punch resistance is an issue, and we could see a massive, what I would consider a massive upset come April 11th.
Timing is important in boxing. The timing of the fight favors Arslanbek Makhmudov. Not
Mm.
necessarily, not the talent, not the pedigree, not that, but the timing of the fight. He's a strong-willed guy and a strong fighter, and he's fresher than Tyson Fury. So that, and then when it comes to Fury's shape, he's that's why that second Wilder fight was the perfect storm for him. He was um both big but in shape. And usually with him, since that fight, it's been one or the other. He's a little, by his measure, a little thinner, where he's got some of that skinny fat, like it's he's softer, and then he's either bigger, but then the pace of a guy like Usyk tires him out because at that size he can't handle that pace. That second Fury Wilder fight was the best of both worlds. He was big and as solid as he's ever gonna get, and also had his conditioning was right. He had his bounce in his step. I wish that Fury could have existed for a longer stretch of time. Because even if you look at his body, by the time they got to fight number three, he wasn't the same. And Wilder bulked up a little bit, and Malik Scott implemented a little wrinkle to his game with the jab to the body and all that. And so yeah, but we'll see what we get.
Leslie, we can't get out of here without putting some respect on the vision of a fighter. And that vision in this instance comes from Makhmudov. He's been asking for this fight for a long time.
Yeah,
I was a bit surprised that that didn't come up actually in the press conference and be more of a point of discussion. This is not some lottery ticket that he came with from nowhere or some fight that he never had on his radar and now it's just an opportunity for him. He's called for this fight, wanted this fight, has believed he can beat Tyson Fury for a long time. I believe has been focusing for a long time in the back of his mind on making this a reality. And then the opportunity actually has come. You cannot discount that when a fighter has believed for so long that there's a fight out there that nobody thinks they can win, but that fighter believes he's got what it takes. He sees something. He believes something about himself or about the opponent that he believes gets his hand raised at the end of the night. And when that opportunity comes, I believe that while the training camp for Fury, even if it's been this whole last year of retirement, Makhmudov has been in training for Fury for years. And he has now an opportunity to prove what I believe he's been saying to himself, to the boxing world, to the promoters, and believing wholeheartedly on April 11th that he can beat Tyson Fury. That to me is as much a part of the equation when you do the matchup as anything else. Makhmudov has believed this for a long time, and if 2025 has taught us anything, and Terrence Crawford is evidence of it, at sometimes when a fighter believes something that seems impossible, listen to them. They know it's possible, and they intend to prove it.
yeah, what he might be seeing is because fighters, they don't just look into each other's styles and skills, they look into each other's souls when they assess each other. Like you said with Crawford and Canelo and with Ray Leonard and Hagler, he said no, 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 and then after Mugabe, yes. Now I see what I got to see. And what he might be seeing is that fighting spirit has waned. He can't go to the well like he once was able to. You're talking about punch resistance. I'm saying in addition to that, if you get him to that dark place where he's got to dig down and deep, I know me being Makhmudov, I want to do that. I want to get the fight to that point where we push back the skill and we get to the will. And I know I got him if I can get him there. And I know he doesn't really want to go there anymore. That may have something to do with it. By the way, John Fury, yeah, yeah,
I was about to say we can't get out of here
yeah. I gotta
talking
let you go
about
ahead.
Big
Yeah,
John.
yeah.
Now I was there, so I'll set this one up. Okay, John Fury is a character in the Fury play, right? Tyson Fury geniusly has built a character around himself and a universe around his family and his boxing career that is being sold in every corner of the market. John Fury is a part of that package. Sometimes it's inconvenient, sometimes it's absolutely cringe, but one way or another, it's always a part of the presentation. Yesterday it was cringe, but it did its job. The measured, kind of reflective, reasonable person on the top table who carried the press conference without a bunch of expletives or cringe moments was Tyson Fury. He was able to articulate his reason for coming back, and he spun some very good quotes about Joshua and about how he feels and how that might have inspired him even to come back. I don't know if that's true. I think he always planned to come back, but maybe it did push him towards it faster. I could accept that. However, you do also need the spectacle part of the show. You need somebody, if it's going to be Fury, to be making everybody wince and saying the thing that is like, oh my God, come on, man. Or getting the viral moment and making us talk about something. Without John Fury, we wouldn't have a whole lot to talk about necessarily in the way of a viral moment if it were just left up to Tyson. But maybe Tyson could be that guy that he was on the press conference top table because John had already done the work of getting all the cameras out, getting all the reels going, getting all the talk happening. And Carl Froch was just the convenient foil, right? Because I mean, you look at it's nonsense when you listen to what John's actually saying, and you know what he's doing so performative, and we are such suckers for it in the boxing media. Like I talked about the Haney incident and how we would all get our cameras out and be a part of that, and nobody would intercede. Well, that's a bit different. John didn't put his hands on anybody. He just kind of was
This
embarrassing
time.
again.
Or his head.
Or his head, which he has done in the past, which is absolutely deplorable, which should, have wrought some consequences, which I believe it did, got him bounced from the corner. But we're easy pickings, man. They know how to manipulate us. They know how to make a viral moment. They know that we'll all talk about it as if it actually matters. And there were no shortage of cameras out. There's reels on every boxing channel's site and Instagram. And now John is a part of the narrative, and Tyson's able to deliver a measured, several quotes from the press conference while we all are not talking about the actual matchup. We're talking about this nonsense between Big John and Carl Froch, who will never, ever, ever in a million years fight.
Even though Carl Froch is with the shits.
Yeah,
And yeah. And
and
was
being
calling out Lennox too. I beat you in your prime. I'm like, no, you won't. But yeah, yeah, I just feel like I like John Fury was a typical boxing dad, or overzealous to a fault about his son, loves his son, believes his son is God's gift to the boxing world and would beat any man ever lace up a pair of gloves except himself. And typical boxing dad stuff, but the headbutt thing was kind of a jump the shark moment, and so was this. And I'm not convinced that it's a work, that it's for publicity. I think it's kind of just John Fury, maybe just being John Fury, But
you
yeah,
think
you
he
you
really
are
wants to
correct
fight
that
Carl Froch?
it sparked the promotion for everybody involved. Carl Froch, Lennox Lewis, Tyson Fury, Arslanbek Makhmudov. It gave it a shot in the arm on social media. It got it going, got people talking about it. It certainly did that. So
Yeah,
and Tyson sounded rejuvenated, but you never know. Fighters convince themselves they're rejuvenated and feel great all the time when they make their comebacks, only to not have it when they get in the ring. So that remains to be seen April 11th.
yeah, and we gotta be fair and even-handed. Like Bill Haney is a great hype boxing dad. You know, I don't I don't begrudge the dads
No, no,
taking some
no.
of the spotlight when the fight needs to get sold or making a personality out of themselves so they can say the thing that their sons can't say. But Tyson Fury doesn't really need that, right? Like he can definitely fill that void on his own. It's just this to me in this Netflix now context just creates another character for what is the boxing reality show on that platform. And John is desperately trying to be the breakout on the series. He wants his spot in the show. And so nothing that anybody, Linux, Froch, and nobody on that Netflix commentary panel that John was shouting down into was going to say anything or do anything to rival the amount of attention that John brought to the fight. That's just the reality of it. And for all of the pedigree and big production and massive platforms and tuxedos or shiny suits that Netflix or any other platform presents, this is the grimy side of boxing. This is the street side of it. This is what we actually get into and are in it for. Nothing will excite us more than somebody pushing somebody, somebody chinning somebody, a sucker punch, or somebody talking crazy from the rafters and calling out a fight they'll never even have. That's what we love. That is what feeds the beast. And that will eclipse anything that the network puts in front of us in the way of pedigree. That's the real heart and soul of boxing media. And in some regards, I wish it weren't, but I'm as guilty of it as not more so than anybody in my career have having been that beast and being fed that way. So you can't fault the guy for running the formula, but maybe it's time for us in the boxing media to be a little more have a little more discretion about what we eat.